Hello friends. Many parents ask me how to read a story to children to get maximum benefit. So today's video is for all of you. I have often emphasized the importance of reading to infants and toddlers. Here's how a simple book can turn into an endless treasure trove. Welcome back to Happiness Mantra. Do subscribe if you're new here and don't forget to press the like button if you enjoy the video. The story that we're going to discuss today is The Little Red Hen, which is a level 1 ladybird book. It starts with the introduction of the characters as well as the main terms which are used. And it's a story about a red hen who basically wants to bake bread, and she has these 3 friends, a dog, a cat and a rat. While she asks them if they want to help her while she's planting the wheat and she's cutting it and doing all the processes, they always say no. So that's how the story continues. Various steps towards planting and harvesting are involved in it. Finally, she makes the flour and then she makes the bread. And all the time, her 3 friends refuse to help her. She asks for help at each step, but they constantly say no. Finally, the hen makes the bread herself, and when she sits to eat it, they all want a share. They say that yes, they do want to eat it, but now finally in the end, the hen says no. She says, I will eat it all by myself, and she does do that. So that's the basic story. I quickly just introduce the story so that you will know the kind of concepts that we can work on in this particular story. Now, when we read the story to the children, we can initially have a lot of discussion points about it. So who are the main characters in the story? Of course, I'm assuming that the child is young right now, and either you read the story to the child or the child was able to read the story herself or himself. So of course, they should be aware of who are the main characters. In this particular story, the hen and of course her 3 friends. The setting of the story. Now, stories can have different settings. It could be home, it could be school, it could be a garden, it could be a farm as it was in this case. So basically, the children should be aware of where the story takes place. Next, we have, why do you think the cat, dog and rat did not help the hen? Such questions encourage a child to think, which I think is very essential while understanding a story. Knowing things from each character's perspective gives new ideas, new vision to the entire process. Discuss a situation where you helped someone and another where you didn't. Now, often while doing any kind of story or while we teach, morals from stories, we often focus on the positives of life. But life is always not made up of positive things. There might be situation when a child did not help or where a child did not share, where a child said no to particular things. We must discuss those as well, because that is all about emotional regulation. It's not about just the positive and good feelings, the happiness quotient. It is also about things where the child was not comfortable with something, where the child refused to do something, and we need to understand why the child behaved in that particular manner. So such questions also really encourage and help. What is the moral of the story? Of course, in this case, first is that hard work yields rewards, and do unto others as you want them to do to you. This is basically telling a child that if there is something that they want, then there is a particular way that they should behave so that the other person also behaves the same way with them. So, if they are rude or if they constantly refuse to share, then their friends might do the same. And then in that case, the child should not feel bad about it. So this basically is a very good story to teach all such behaviors and to discuss them with the child as well. Once we are through with that, we come to some kind of vocabulary exercises which I have jotted down. Here we can have names of farm animals. There are 4 mentioned in the story, but you can always extend it. You can add horse and pig and ducks, anything else that you want. Their sounds, houses they live in, their babies, are all things that can be discussed. It can be done in written with children who are a little older. If the child is 6 or 7 years old, you can also do those same concepts in written with the child. Otherwise, just oral information, either introducing it for the first time or brushing up if they already know it. Both are really effective. New words that they can learn from the story. For example, process when seeds start growing. Of course, this is called germination. So it is not a word which was there in the story, but there is no harm in introducing the new word. Just repeating it a couple of times, making the child familiar with the word, never harms. If the child finds it difficult, you can just introduce the word and then leave it. There's no point in forcing the child to learn the word, or going back to it constantly and saying, oh, I explained it so many times, you still can't remember the word. No. The idea behind introducing a new word is just so that the child is familiar with it. He's heard it a couple of times, so that the next time the word comes in, the child is able to pick it up faster. That is how vocabulary works. You cannot force feed vocabulary to children. Remember that. Cutting of ripe crops, harvesting. Making flour from wheat, there is a process called grinding, which is mentioned in the book. So I just picked this up from there. And we dash a bread. We make a bread, we cook a bread are some options that the child would come up with. But in this case, the correct vocabulary is that we bake a bread, which is the reason I included this as a sentence in vocabulary, so that they know the correct usage of the word. Some other things that can be taught is collective nouns. Here, the reason I have mentioned the collective noun is because often as parents, even we might not know all these words. So, it's a litter of puppies, a clouder of cats, a pack of dogs, a mischief of rats, a nest of mice, a brood of chickens. If you'll notice, I've taken all the words which were there in the story, as in not exactly in the story, but the characters in the story. So we had a dog, we had a cat, a rat. So I took mice and puppies from that, and we had a hen, so I took chickens from that. So again, this is a concept which can just be repeated a couple of times with the child, because believe me, the more you do these kinds of activities, the more familiar the child gets with the word. So, the first time you're doing it, maybe the child will just remember two. And then as you go forward and as you repeat it in some other story, the child would become more familiar and would be able to answer much easily. Opposite. The hen is dash and her friends are dash. I took this up as an opposite word because very clearly the difference in their personality comes across in the story. So the hen here is hardworking, but her friends are, yes, I'm sure you got the word right. It is lazy. The hen is hardworking, but her friends are lazy. We can also have a lot of observational tasks while reading a book. Now, a simple thing here. This I'll show you through the book also. Let's see. Yes. So, I have mentioned which farm tools or implements can you see. Now, since it's an observational task, while reading the book, the child is also supposed to look at the picture and grasp things from there as well, right? So here there is a rake which is shown in the picture. In the next one, there is a sickle which she is holding in her hand, and it asks, will you help me cut the wheat? So, it gives a clue to the child that the sickle is used to cut wheat. A rake is used to loosen the soil, because the rake is here, and then here the hen seems to be saying, then I will plant it all by myself. So, just before planting the seed, she needs to loosen the soil using a rake. Of course, these are words that you will have to familiarize the child with first, but you can point it out, show it to them, so that the next time they become more aware of the pictures and learn to grasp new information besides what is just written. Now, another question that I came up with was, what utensils do you see in the hen's kitchen? Again, towards the end, we have this kitchen where she's going to be baking her bread. So, there are there are pictures here as well as in this. What all can you see? So, you can see plates, kettle, jug, you can see bowl, you can see a spoon, you can see jars. Here you can see some extra more jars, a baking dish. So a couple of things that I have mentioned from what I could observe. There could be some more which I might have missed and which you might teach the children. If there are some such things, then do mention in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Now I have a topic which is beyond the book learning. So far, all the topics that I discussed, everything that I took up was related to the chapter, to the book that was read. They were a little extra information, but again, related and very much included in the book. When we say beyond the book, what can be taught? For example, from this story, the first thing that we can teach is, after planting a seed, how do you look after it? Now here the hen has planted the seed and she has looked after it, and it has grown into a plant which she's cut and then she's used it in different way. So while between that process of planting and harvesting, what are the steps that need to be taken care of? So the first thing that children will be able to answer is, of course, give it water. Because often we have plants at home and we encourage children to water the plant themselves, or they see us water the plant, right? So beyond that, you can also discuss the concept of manure, pesticides, weedicides. Like I'm saying, don't complicate it too much, but you can always discuss and introduce these things to the children. What different dishes can be made with bread? So sandwich is something that all children will say. But besides a sandwich, what else can they get out of bread? So, they could have a bread pudding, or they could have a bread chaat, they could have a breakfast dish made out of bread. So a lot of variety depending on your household and what the children do eat. You can introduce them to some new concepts here. Another thing would be to plant a few seeds and watch them grow. This is a lovely activity. Many children have done it a few times from what I know, because most schools also encourage this activity. It is a process of learning germination by actually watching it. So, taking a few moong dal, sprouting it up and then planting it, and then, giving it water and then observing the entire process of how it grows is beautiful. It's a lovely experience and it's a wonderful teaching tool for the children. So like you saw, there are myriad activities that can be done with just one single book. If you like this video, do let me know in the comments. If there's a particular story you would like me to elaborate on, to extend it, I will definitely work on that. And if you really think that this was useful, I can do similar activities with various other stories. Thank you. Happy learning. Happy teaching. Hope you enjoyed this video.